Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, coming to you live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up this evening, President John Mahama petitioned to remove the Supreme Court Justice Yoni Kolendi over alleged interference in administration of justice. We'll get into the details in a bit. Also coming up, former Attorney General Godfred Dame has urged the General Legal Counsel to dismiss a complaint against him. Why? We have details for you as well. And later, Inspector General of Police Christian Teteyehonu sparks debate about urging communities to build their own police stations. Is this an assertion you would agree with? We'll delve into the specifics of why he believes communities should own their own police stations. Details of all of these and more coming up. Before that, though, let's bring you the news summaries.
In our summaries tonight, police personnel from Prussia Police Command have arrested 4 armed robbers, 2 of whom are alleged to be military officers. The 4 are said to have attempted a robbery at Longshine Mining Company Limited in Obohu, a suburb of Prussia. Sources told our 3 News team that 2 other suspects managed to escape arrest, leaving the police with the 2 military officers and 2 civilians in custody. The Tema Impakadan passenger train came to an abrupt halt just meters from its destination after its emergency brake was activated, leaving commuters trapped on board for nearly 45 minutes. Chief Executive of the Ghana Railway Development Authority, Dr. Frederick Apor, confirmed the incident, explaining that the sudden stop was caused by the activation of the emergency brake. He noted that investigations are ongoing to determine which specific brake was triggered, but technicians have since confirmed that the train remains fully operational. President John Dramani Mahama has officially commissioned 11 new Ghanaian envoys to serve as ambassadors and high commissioners to various countries across the globe. The swearing-in ceremony held in Accra on Wednesday, October 1, follows the granting of agreements, which is the official approval by the respective host countries throughout September 2025. All envoys are non-career diplomats selected to represent Ghana's interests abroad under the new administration. Finally, Ghana's annual consumer inflation rate slowed for the 9th consecutive month in September, falling to 9.4% year-on-year from 11.5% in August, marking its lowest level since August 2021. The Statistics Service said on Wednesday. Government statistician Al-Hassan Idrisu told a press conference that the decline was driven primarily by easing food prices compared to non-food prices. We have this on our website, again, 3news.com. We're also streaming on Facebook and on YouTube at 3FM 92.7. Martin, over to you.
Thank you very much, Christabel, for the news summaries. Let's delve into the specifics of our stories this evening. And mind you, we are streaming on YouTube and Facebook, and we'd always love to hear from you. So just look for 3FM on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can be part of the conversations. And do let your comments and messages also come in, because we love to hear from you every day. To the specifics now, and President John Dramani Mahama has been petitioned to remove Supreme Court Justice Yoni Kolendi over alleged interference in administration of justice. Meanwhile, former Attorney General Godfred Dame has urged the Legal General Counsel. I beg your pardon, let's go straight to the specifics. I'm actually bringing you the headlines again, but the big story this evening is that barely 24 hours after petitioning the Criminal Investigations Department to investigate Justice Yoni Kolendi and Richard Jakpa over alleged interference of administration of justice, Daniel Mafu Oforiata Echebi Indigene has escalated the matter to the presidency. This time, he's asking President John Mahama to remove Justice Yoni Kolendi as a Supreme Court justice, accusing him of improper interference with the trial involving Dr. Keselato Forson, who is the current finance minister and at some point the minority leader in parliament, and 2 others. So what exactly has been ongoing? And also you would recall that there have been petitions and counter petitions to the CID over these 2 gentlemen. I'm talking about the former Attorney General Godfred Dame, and then also a counter petition asking for a similar action by the CID to be taken against one other. So what exactly is this back and forth? Why do we seem to have this legal tussle vis-a-vis security concerns being discussed in the media? We'll try and get some specifics into why now the president has also been roped in, because a justice of the Superior Court is part of the conversations, and the president is being asked to ensure that he also considers removing him or kicking him out as a justice of the Superior Court. Dennis Pwaberi Wedam is with our research team here, and also producer of Ghana Tonight, and also a lawyer, respectfully, would try and walk us through what seems to be quite an entangled subject matter. Dennis, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Always a pleasure being here, Martin.
So, to start with, there was a petition to the IGP when it has to do with Richard Japa. Then later we were told that another petition has been sent there. Now there seemed to be Yoni Kolendi who's been dragged into the issue. So something that was clearly a legal matter has security angles to it, and now the president has also been brought in. Try and unpack all of this for us.
All right, so Martin, let's go back to 2024 when the former majority leader, now finance minister, Dr. Asiedu-Dartey, was standing trial with two others in respect of the ambulance purchase case. So it came to light during cross-examination that there was some, then Christabel was the Attorney General who was leading prosecution in that particular matter. It came to light that the Attorney General then had some encounter or some interactions with one of the accused persons, who is in the person of Mr. Japa, then a businessman. Now we know he's in charge of special operations at the National Security Secretariat. Then that became a controversy in itself as to why a lawyer who is on the other side, in the person of the Attorney General, who is supposed to lead prosecution, would have such an engagement or an encounter with an accused person who is represented by a lawyer. The circumstances of this meeting in itself is strange, and at some points, admissions will be made that then indeed that meeting was held, but as to what the meeting was intended for, it has different interpretations to it, depending on who is saying it. So this meeting was between Christabel, Richard Japa, and then His Lordship Justice Yoni Kolendi, who we are told is a cousin of Richard Japa. This meeting, undisputedly, was held in the residence of His Lordship Justice Yoni Kolendi. So that particular meeting, together with some conversations between Richard Japa and then the former Attorney General, would be the basis for all that we are seeing today. In fact, it has even got so intense that the court itself had to make a determination in respect of that matter, because when it came to light that there was conversation between the former Attorney General and then the accused person, then the lawyers for the accused person said, if that was the case, then it means that the trial itself was tainted. So they filed what they call an application for mistrial to say that the trial was being tampered with. The court had to make a determination. The state then opposed the admission of the conversation between Richard Japa and the Attorney General by way of WhatsApp messages and audio recordings. They wanted to take that out of the record so that it's not admitted into evidence. However, the court admitted that into evidence, but also rejected the application for mistrial. So what it meant is that, yes, we will look at the recordings as part of the body of evidence in the case itself. However, we will not throw away the case. We don't think that that conversation tainted the case so much so that we cannot proceed with it. That ended the matter for that particular one. But mind you, it got to a point where prosecution had closed its case, accused persons had filed for submission of no case. That's to say we don't have a case to answer. And if the court had agreed with them then, it meant that the case would have ended. But the court did not agree with them. So that's how come the High Court was still on it. However, on appeal, the Court of Appeal said the accused persons did not have a case to answer. And that's how come Richard Japa and then Asiedu-Dartey were acquitted and discharged. So it meant that the case came to its logical conclusion in the absence of any appeal on that matter. However, what still persists now has to do with the conversation which purportedly happened between the three people. Richard Japa, Godfrey Dami, and then His Lordship Justice Yoni Kolendi. We were learning just last week that Richard Japa goes to the CID to file a complaint that the attempt or the conversation that he had with the former Attorney General, Godfrey Dami, was an attempt on the part of the Attorney General then to elicit favorable responses from him so that they could convict the now Finance Minister, who was also the first accused person in that case. He says that that conduct of the former Attorney General constitutes a crime for which the CID should look into the matter. As part of that conversation, he also did mention that at a point, Godfrey Adami had suggested to him to get a fake medical excuse to submit to the court so that he would not appear on court on a certain day. That he sees amounts to fabrication of evidence, which he contends that it's criminal, for which the CID should take interest in the matter. Just a week after that, another Ghanaian citizen, at least that's how he describes himself, also files a complaint at the CID asking for an investigation into the meeting that took place between Richard Japa, Godfrey Adami, and His Lordship Justice Yoni Kolendi. He also says that that meeting was for the Justice of the Supreme Court, Yoni Kolendi, to impress upon the Attorney General to let Richard Japa go because there is some family relationship, because Richard Japa is a cousin to Yoni Kolendi. He contends that that meeting is not appropriate in the eyes of the public, for which they have to look into it. He says that it is an attempt to obstruct justice, and for which, if it is indeed found to be true, constitutes crime. So that was the context for the CID part of it.
Okay, and that is the specific issue of the meeting between Richard Japa,
yes,
and Yoni Kolendi, who is his cousin,
yes,
and the fact that he was a Supreme Court judge.
Yes,
it was, according to this petitioner, it was wrong for that to have happened when there was a live case in court.
Exactly. And he even went further to impugn meaning into the meeting, to say that that meeting was purposely designed to impress upon the Attorney General to do certain things to let Mr. Richard Japa go. So for him, there was a crime to be looked at. That's how he petitioned the CID to also look into the matter. That was just yesterday. There are also reports that the same person has submitted a petition to the presidency now seeking the removal of His Lordship Justice Yoni Kolendi based on the same set of facts. At least that's what we are hearing. And that is so because we have not seen any official communication from the presidency indicating the receipt of that petition, knowing that these petitions, typically, they are in camera. And when we say in camera, it starts from the submission of the petition to the final determination of the matter. So within the context, it's only a purported petition which is said to have been before the president, and that it borders on these same set of facts that we had seen in the petition which has been presented to the CID. So to that extent, we are only limited in the scope of what he presented to the CID as being forming part of what possibly would be before the presidency in respect of this particular matter. So Martin, that is how the matter is panning out. The case itself has ended in court. However, there are still concerns that that particular meeting should be looked at so that if there's anyone who is found culpable of committing any crime by way of obstruction of justice in any way or form, that person should be held accountable for that.
In relation to it, we know that some responses have also come out where we are told that Godfrey Dami, for instance, has responded. Do we know whether it is to the petition to the CID or this is the, now that we know, a petition to the president?
Right. So that is also a different forum altogether, if I may put it that way. Because while all this was happening, mind you, these two petitioners or complainants, depending on how you look at it, they put their issues before the CID. There was one other person called Daniel Kwame Ofosu Apia in May 2022, who also said Godfrey Dami, beyond being the Attorney General, is also a legal practitioner, he's a lawyer. And to that extent, the conduct, still using the same set of facts and then the same meeting and the interaction between himself and Richard Japa, constitutes a professional misconduct. And as lawyers, the body which is in charge of dealing with matters of professional misconduct is the General Legal Counsel. So to that extent, he filed a complaint before the General Legal Counsel to look into matters of professional misconduct in respect of the former Attorney General. That is what we are now getting a response from the former Attorney General in respect of that particular complaint that has been made before the General Legal Counsel. What this also means is that the General Legal Counsel has received a complaint. They forwarded the complaints to the former Attorney General. These are complaints that have been made against you in respect of professional misconduct. Look at them and offer us a response. This response, we now have a copy of it, which he has responded at length to all the matters that have been raised in that complaint, including urging that the General Legal Counsel dismisses the complaint for it not having any merit.
Okay. So let us get portions of that, but maybe before we come to the specific responses from the former Attorney General, let's listen to what a private legal practitioner, Martin Pebu, has been saying. Now, he spoke earlier on Ghana Tonight and said that the petitions are worth investigating to get the final outcome of the true incidents, and it clearly is an interesting position he shares. Many actually thought that he probably would have been one of those who would ask for it to be dismissed, but it looks as though he says that clearly it helps our legal jurisprudence, so it must be looked into. Let's listen to Martin Pebu now.
Somebody will say luckless coincidence. Another person too will say a very well orchestrated attempt to neutralize the JAPA petition against Godfrey Dami. Yes. So we would never know which one is really the gospel truth, if we may call it so. But in such is life. Sometimes you may never know the real story behind the story. So we'll take it like that. But on the face of it, since this second petition is also presented as an attempt to get accountability, then it means that we have to give the petitioner his day in investigations, yes, instead of his day in court. We don't know whether this will end up in court or not. So we say his day in investigations, right? So let it go. Sometimes, as I said, because the key thing we should be watching is this. Because often citizens don't feel empowered and some citizens are scared, and for so many other reasons, citizens generally don't like to take on persons in authority, I would say we should hasten slowly in condemning the petition. He's a citizen, that's Daniel Oforiatta, right? Let him have his day. Yes, let him have his day. Because if we don't, then it would appear that we embrace JAPA's petition against Godfrey Dami, but we are blowing hot and cold by summarily dismissing this Daniel Ofori's petition against JAPA and Justice Kulendi. So for that reason, as I said, let's allow this one to also receive due process.
Right, so that is Martin Pebu, a private legal practitioner. Dennis is still with us. So now let's look at the petition that was sent to the General Legal Counsel asking them to deal with former Attorney General Godfrey Dami, and Dennis will walk us through. So what is captured in the petition to the General Legal Counsel? Is it just primarily to ask them to investigate and sack him out of the profession, that is? And what is the response he has given to that?
Well, so typical complaints to the General Legal Counsel in respect of professional misconduct would ask for things including generally taking disciplinary actions against a practitioner, which may include suspension. I mean, the extreme could be your name being struck out of the role of lawyers. That means you have been debarred. But in this particular instance, we have Mr. Mafu, who makes specific references to some of the rules of ethics that he alleges that the former Attorney General breached. He says, for instance, that there was a failure to act with honesty and integrity and professionalism. He says that is a violation of the rules of that guide the profession. He also makes reference to engaging in conduct involving deceit and misrepresentation. He talks about direct communication with a represented party on matters of representation. He talks about attempt to improperly influence a witness and the outcomes of proceedings. He talks about a conduct likely to discredit the legal profession. And he also talks about any breach in the nature of the above. So he now says that the sanctions he is looking out for could include reprimand, suspension, or removal from the role of lawyers. But in substance, like I did mention earlier, all this is still predicated on that particular interaction between Godfrey Asiedu-Dartey and Richard Japah, and also that meeting that was held in the home of the respected Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Yoni Kalondi. Now, having received this complaint from the General Legal Counsel, the former Attorney General being served a copy to elicit his response, he begins by raising some preliminary or addressing some preliminary issues, including the publication of the said complaint and referencing the rules of engagement, which say that such proceedings should be treated the same way we treat removal of so they should be treated, they're supposed to be dealt with in camera. And when we mention in camera, it rings a bell. Refers to the proceedings under Article 146 for removal of Superior Court justices and the Chief Justice. We've gone past all of those things before. So he essentially makes the argument that this complaint, even before it got to him, was well publicized, was on TV, was on radio stations and in newspapers, and that it was discussed extensively. He also makes the case that because it's been put out there already, it seems to suggest that the complainant has a certain motive. He makes the case that even when this matter itself came up, there were some political undertones. So for it to be handled in that matter, he thinks that it's a breach of this in-camera proceeding for which it has to be dismissed. He goes ahead to cite a recent Supreme Court ruling in the case of Justice Tukono, the removal of the Chief Justice, in which the Supreme Court had refused to admit some of her affidavits into evidence for reason of those affidavits having to come from an in-camera proceeding. So he's urging on the General Legal Counsel to also adopt the same law or the same rule and then dismiss this particular complaint. But he says that if they are minded to proceed, there are even more weightier matters to look at, and that he did all he's alleged to have been done. Not to say that he has done them, but granted, he did them in his line of duty as an Attorney General. And he says that as an Attorney General, there's something we call prosecutorial discretion, which simply means that the Attorney General decides what kind of charges to prefer against somebody and when and how and all of that, including some engagements that they need to have to be able to prosecute their cases well, and that they deserve to have a certain level of immunity so that once you become an Attorney General, you know that you are immune from suits and these kind of disciplinary actions. He says that even though this is not in our laws, he cites other laws from the US, from Canada, which seem to suggest that yes, indeed, typically, there's that prosecutorial immunity. Then he goes on to address the specific matters of the allegations that have been made against him, and he answers each of them line by line, including indicating that these are even matters that the court itself had pronounced upon. And indeed, like I mentioned earlier, when this case came up for trial in that application for the mistrial, the High Court did indicate that they do not think that the interaction or engagement was to the extent of having influenced the case. That's how come that application for mistrial was dismissed, even though the exhibits by way of the WhatsApp messages were admitted into evidence. So the generality of it is that he contends, one, on the leg of even the jurisdiction of the General Legal Counsel to be able to hear a disciplinary complaint against a former Attorney General. He talks about the violation of the in-camera rule. Then he goes into the merit of the matter itself to dispute all the allegations that have been leveled against him. He says that he did not try to influence Japah in any way. He did not give him a coaching and all those things. So essentially, those are the matters that the former Attorney General has been addressing in this particular response to the complaints that have been brought against him for alleged professional misconduct in this particular proceeding. Martin.
Okay. Briefly, what does the legal counsel do when they get such responses? Is it that they write to you to get your response before they maybe convene a meeting or a committee to look into it? What really is the role of the legal counsel when it comes to whether or not a lawyer has misconducted himself and then some action needs to be taken?
Well, so look at it as a disciplinary committee. A complaint is lodged against you, Martin. You are there, you have no idea. What the committee would simply do is that upon receipt of the complaint, they'll write to you that maybe, for instance, Christabel has lodged a complaint against you. Find a copy of the complaint and provide us a response. Right. What we are reading is the response of the Attorney General. Now, there will come a point where they will invite the parties themselves to now come and meet the committee itself and make their cases known to the committee. But of course, the person who has alleged is the one who must prove. So there'll come a point where the complainant will be invited before the committee to furnish the committee with better and better particulars, and then the respondents, the Attorney General, former Attorney General in this matter, will also be invited. In these kind of matters, you are allowed to represent yourself or to represent by yourself or by a lawyer, almost taking the same shape as a courtroom, except that this is a bit more informal as compared to the courtroom setting. Okay. So we look forward to how this is going to pan out. But this is to establish the case that this matter is live and running. Unlike the cases before the CID and which we do not still know whether or not the CID has actually started its investigations into the matter. But for this, we know for a fact it is a live matter which is up and running.
Right. Dennis Poaberry-Wedam is with us and will stay with us for our next subject, which is also a very topical one. Many of you have already been sharing your thoughts on it, and we love to see what you're doing with the messages that are coming in on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube stream. So do let your messages come in and your thoughts as well, because I'm sure many of you would have heard already the DSTV back and forth between them and the Minister for Communication. Where exactly do you stand? Did we get a reduction or we got value for the same amount, which the minister is saying? And now that DSTV has decided not to speak but to release a series of statements, do you get further clarity on this? And where does this leave all of us? We'll try and, break it down further for you. Dennis is still with us. He'll help us do that. But let's go and take what exactly has happened in the last 24 to 48 hours after the minister addressed the nation on this DSTV debacle.
Yes, DSTV has issued an apology and clarification regarding the frequently asked questions, FAQs, on their website, which seem to contradict the joint media statement with the Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations. The company had earlier indicated a new promotion offering customers one package higher than what they've paid for at no extra cost, which is set to run for the next 3 months, a statement which suggested a contrast with the Minister of Communications announcement on a new DSTV pricing plan. And Dennis is still with us in the studio. Dennis, let's start from what the Minister of Communications said at the press conference. What exactly did he tell Ghanaians?
Well, so the minister basically came to give an update on a committee that was put together. We know what the goal of this committee was to, among other things, arrive at the point where Ghanaians will have reduced prices for their DSTV packages. So the expectation of many, and as previously indicated by the minister himself, was a price reduction. So previously, before yesterday, he had mentioned that he himself had picked signals that the company wanted to give an offer to Ghanaians to be able to pay for their existing packages and get more value. That is to say, you would pay for, say, access, and you have the benefit of experiencing what family people experience, or pay for family and experience compact. But he had said then that he was going to reject that offer. So coming to that press conference and talking about anything that has to do with price reduction, Ghanaians were clear exactly what they expected. However, it turned out that it was exactly what the minister had said he was going to reject that was on the table. That is to say, that announcement was what they call a value enhancement package for subscribers. And like I rightly explained, you are on an existing package, you pay, and then you enjoy what those who are on a step higher enjoy. So you pay access, you enjoy family, you pay family, you enjoy. So that in itself came with a bit of controversy as to whether this really was the kind of reduction that we're talking about. But the president, I keep saying president, the minister was clear in his words that this was not what was clear in his words when he mentioned, he talked about value, an increased value offer.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe before, so people can get the specifics of what the minister said, let's listen to him. Then we can pick up the conversation from there following a number of statements that DSTV themselves have released.
Subscribers will get between 33% to 50% more value. The new arrangement, effective from 1st October 2025, are as follows. For those who are on the Paddy Bouquet subscription, you currently pay 59 Ghana cedis. When you pay 59 Ghana cedis, you get upgraded automatically to Access, which is valued at 99 Ghana cedis, and you get 35 more channels. This represents a 40% savings if you were to pay for the Access yourself. Second bouquet, Access, currently going at 99 Ghana cedi. If you retain your Access bouquet at 99 Ghana cedi, MultiChoice will bump you up to the family bouquet, which is currently priced at 190 Ghana cedis. You get 19 more channels, which means that if you were to stay on Access and get bumped up, for the value you get, you make a savings of 48%. If you're on the family package, which is currently valued at 190 Ghana cedis, DSTV will automatically bump you up to Compact, which ordinarily goes for 380 Ghana cedis. You get 22 more channels and actually get access to live football matches. So anybody on the family package, which previously didn't get live football matches, would automatically get live football matches. The value savings on this, 50%. Compact, currently going at 380 Ghana cedis, gets bumped up automatically to Compact Plus, which is priced at 570 Ghana cedis. You get 12 more channels in addition, and the value savings, 33%. Compact Plus, valued at 570 Ghana cedis. You pay that, you're automatically bumped up to Premium, which goes at the price of 865 cedis. You get 18 more channels and a value of 34%. For those who remain on their Premium bouquet, which is priced at 865 Ghana cedis, you will still get all the content on the Premium flagship, the flagship Premium bouquet, but you also get an automatic entry into the competition for the chance to win a fully paid trip to watch selected English Premiership games. But this is, as well as you know, subject to terms and conditions. There is no restriction on a subscriber's choice of a bouquet. The offer is available to both existing and new customers from 1st of October 2025. Effectively, MultiChoice has offered value over and above what we expected of them. I went into this with a request for 30%. With what we have discussed here, the lowest is 33%, the highest is 50%. And I extend my warmest gratitude to the MultiChoice team for that. I want to commend them for their goodwill towards subscribers in Ghana, and the committees of the view that this increased value offer addresses government's concerns, it reduces pressure on Ghanaian households, while ensuring the sustainability of the DSTV service in Ghana.
And that's the voice of Sam Nate George, who is the minister in charge of communication, digital technology, and innovation. And in the latter part of his submission, he talked about how they've had a very cordial relationship in terms of the meetings they've had, the agreement and counter agreement, the argument and the back and forth. But at least at the end, they managed to arrive at something that is a win-win for both parties, But in the last 12 to for about 12 to 18 hours, or let's say under 24 hours, DSTV has come out with their side of the story. First, they released a frequently asked question, which many thought that counted some of the submissions some judge made. And then in the last hour or so, they've released another statement which more or less sought to clarify the issues that people were raising. Dennis is still with us in studio. So Dennis, what exactly was captured in the statements that DSTV released? Did it seek to counter what the minister had said? Was that the impression you got?
Well, for impression, yes. And that was the impression many actually got, for which reason there was a lot of backlash on this, on the minister. And to put things in proper perspective, they did not make any specific reference to the minister's communication. They also issued what they say, we've got you promotion. So in that we've got you promotion, they are not trying to educate their subscribers and the general public what this means. And they say they have a promotion which is going to run from the 1st of October, that's today, to the end of December this year, 3 months. Now that promotion also happened to have the same semblance as that which the minister had announced, to say that be either on your existing bouquet and we'll send you to the next one, or upgrade to the next one and we'll take you a step higher. It fits in the description that the minister had said.
Right.
So that created the impression that first and foremost, it wasn't upon the request or the negotiation of government that they came to this conclusion, but rather a promotion that they are running, for which the government is taking glory for. That was the impression that was created from reading the statement. Then again, the minister had granted subsequent interviews to this, where he was asked whether this was just a temporary thing or it was going to be permanent. He mentioned that it was going to be permanent. But when you read this promotion that the multi-choice people put out, it suggested that it was going to only last 3 months. There was also another question as to whether if I was on, say, compact, and I decided to downgrade and come to family, I will still be eligible to enjoy the promotion, so that they'll put me back on compact. That would have meant if you were on compact and your next subscription, if you're on compact with the promotion, they'll send you to compact plus. But because you don't want compact plus and want to be on compact, your next subscription, you come to family, knowing that you get to enjoy compact. In which case you would have made savings.
Yes.
Real savings, as in real savings.
Yes.
Good. So that was addressed, and that was the understanding that many got. However, in the frequently asked questions, when multi-choice was addressing that question, and for purposes of clarity, let me read exactly what they said. So the question is, if I downgrade to lower package, will I still be able to participate in the promotion? The answer, it is advisable that a customer either stays on their current package or upgrade to be a higher package to take up the offer. That again seemed to have contradicted what many had walked away with from the minister's press conference and subsequent address. And also more so, when the minister had earlier made a categorical statement that this was what he learned that the people were going to propose. He was grateful to them, but that they were not going to take it. They were seeking to get real reduction. So when he made this announcement yesterday, was it yesterday?
2 days ago.
2 days ago, and he finished by saying that it satisfies government something, seemed to say that it is in line with what they were seeking. Many referred back to that statement and raised questions. So you see the various points where there was some sort of confusion and dispute.
Yeah.
So while that was ongoing, DSTV released another statement. Now that statement, I must say, is very interesting because it seemed to suggest that they were aligned with what the minister had said, except that they had agreed to the packages as the minister had announced, but that was subject to a 3-month review. 3 months will end exactly 31st December from today.
Right.
So it means that it will be a review, and the question of whether it continues or not will be dependent on that review.
Right. And that was a position the minister also shared.
We didn't get that.
Oh, okay. I did, or at least depending on who.
Because when he was later asked, that was a subsequent interview. He was asked whether it was a temporal thing or permanent. He mentioned it was permanent.
No. He said that, and again, of course, views and understandings are different on some of these issues. But I remember, and again, you referenced subsequent interviews that the minister had.
Granted, yes.
Where he was asked, so does it mean that this ends after 3 months? And he said that first at that press conference, he said that this is for 3 months and that the committee that agreed on these new packages he was announcing, that committee was going to meet after 3 months to review one. And then at the interview or the subsequent interviews that he granted, he was asked again that, so is this forever in perpetuity for 1 month? And he says, no, after the end of 3 months, the committee. So I am, or where I stand, I have perfect understanding of what he meant when he said that after 3 months, there was going to be a review. So it does not necessarily tie in with what DSTV is saying, because DSTV themselves do not do quarterly reviews like this. It is an as and when review they do, especially when like the league season is off.
Yes.
Then they come up with some of these promotions. So there is the understanding people have that it is a promotion DSTV does anyway. So you coming out to say that you are more or less just doing public relations for something that already exists. Do you get the argument I'm making? That I got the understanding from the minister that yes, after 3 months, there's going to be a review, unless he probably said something else or there was contrary understanding to what the minister said.
Okay, so the understanding for many was that this was going to be permanent. Forever. Yes, because for regular users or subscribers of DSTV, they know that occasionally these things happen. There are even times that when your DSTV is dormant for some time, you get a call. And in their attempt to persuade you to come back, they'll tell you that, oh, you just subscribe to your existing or get something higher and we'll take you. Yes. So it's something they do as and when. And that was the reason that many were asking, is this the promotion we already know, or this is going to be forever? And if it's going to be forever, then you know it's something new. Yes. But if it's going to be as and when, then you know it's the same thing that you're already enjoying.
Exactly.
And that's the reason they seem to bring some kind of clarity when they released their latest statement. Let's hear from Christabel what exactly they said in that statement, which sought to clarify and then make reference to a seeming contradiction to what the minister had said.
Okay.
They have titled their statements as clarifications on DSTV value offerings, and it continues to say that following the recent joint press conference with the Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations, the National Communications Authority, MultiChoice Africa, and MultiChoice Ghana, we wish to clarify the frequently asked questions published on our website, which created an erroneous impression of a contradiction regarding the DSTV value offering, which is effective today, October 1. We would like to clarify as follows that 1, we fully support the joint media statement that was issued by the Honorable Minister, and implementation of same has already commenced. 2, as contained in the said joint media statement regarding the value offering, the committee will reconvene in 3 months to evaluate the impact of this initiative. This will be a periodic exercise. And 3, there is no restriction on a subscriber's choice of a bouquet. This offer is available to both existing, returning, and new customers from 1st October 2025. And they go ahead to apologize for any inconvenience the FAQs may have caused.
Okay. So, yes, Dennis, maybe we should wrap up because we have other stories to come in. So maybe your final words on this and then we can conclude.
Well, so basically, there still seem to be some kind of...
a gray area.
Not gray area per se, but mistrust in this whole communication. Remember, this is not the first time. The minister had once said something about having a meeting with DSTV and agreeing to reduce prices. DSTV released a statement to categorically say that we did not say that. Yes. We don't even know how that matter ended.
Yes.
Many had thought that maybe this press conference, that would have been the first things to do.
Yes.
But there still appears to be some rift between the government and the DSTV on this. I mean, the best way is to approach it diplomatically and resolve this once and for all, so that subscribers can also enjoy their football and other entertainment packages that are on DSTV.
That's all we want, isn't it? Thank you very much. Dennis Poaberry, we're down. is with our research desk here and also producer of Ghana Tonight, helping us unpack the key issues that were carried in the statements from DSTV Ghana and their responses to what many thought was a countering or a counter argument to what the Communications Minister Sam George had said earlier. So we are happy that you are also part of this because all of this concerns you. By the way, you are the subscribers of DSTV. So what do you make of this, whether there's a reduction or otherwise, and whether you got final clarity on these statements that have been released by DSTV Ghana? Our Facebook page and our YouTube channel are there for you to express yourself, and we'll be happy to share it. This is still Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's go to security-related matters now, because the IGP has been speaking and has sparked quite some debate. What's he been saying? He,
like he said, is suggesting after suggesting that communities in need of police presence should construct their own police stations. Appearing before the Public Accounts Committee on Tuesday, the police chief argued that community involvement in building stations could help address violent attacks on police facilities. His comments came in response to the recent attack on the
Kukrantumi. Yes, so you're referencing the Kukrantumi police station,
right,
by some irate youth, right?
Yeah. However, PAC chairman Abna Osei Asari challenged his position, saying such a policy would undermine the police constitutional mandate to ensure security and protect lives and property in every community across the country. Take a listen.
We all have to condemn the acts of irate youths always attacking police stations. There's a community in this country where we have one police station, which is a divisional headquarters being built by government. And then we have another that is the district headquarters being built by the locals themselves. When they were going to attack, they went to the building that was built by the government, they burned the building down. They came to their local building, and somebody said, no, this way it was the MP who built it, so let us not touch it. So they didn't touch it. And so today, when you are in your area and you are asking us, we should come and open a police station, we'll ask you to build a police station yourself. And it is when you build a police station, and all those areas where there are these disturbances, they never attacked the stations that were built by the community themselves. And it is not good for this country. And so if you ask of closing down, yes, we'll close down because you have destroyed the station.
You just heard the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohono. This is still Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We'll be back after this with Business with Bismarck Ebusa. Stay with us.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up tonight, inflation drops to 9.4% in September, marking Ghana's lowest rate since 2021 and signaling strong progress in economic stabilization drive. This headline story and others lined up for you. Please stay.
Prices in September this
I am Bismarck. I'll stand out to the details. Ghana's annual consumer inflation has decisively entered single-digit territory, dropping to 9.4% in September 2025. This brings the rate within Bank of Ghana's medium-term target band of 8% plus or minus 2, a significant milestone in the country's economic stabilization efforts. The September figure represents a sharp decline from the 11.5% recorded in August and is the lowest inflation rate the nation has seen since August 2021. The government statistician, Dr. Alhassan-Idrisu, noted that the development shows that the pressures driving inflation over the past months are declining.
Prices in September this year were about 9.4% higher than in September last year. On a month-on-month basis, however, if you took just the period between August 2025 and September 2025, that's just between 2 months, that's August and September, that's what we call the month-on-month, we saw prices increasing by 0.9%. The September inflation marks the 9th consecutive month of decline in inflation, and it is also the lowest we have seen since August 2021. To appreciate the scale of this progress, consider the path over the past 1 year. In December 2024, inflation was 23.8%. By August 2025, it had dropped to 11.5%. Now in September 2025, we are at 9.4%.
And that was government statistician Dr. Alhassan-Idrisu. Moving on, Professor Damwa Obibeko of the University of Ghana Business School says job initiatives, including the government's Ejumarura, must be strengthened to rake in the maximum impact for Ghanaians. He said this when he joined officials of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Program (NEIP) training event in Accra. There is more in the following Newsday's report.
The training workshop for trainers of the Jumeirah program was organized for innovation hubs, university innovation centers, training consultants, academics, and other training partners selected across the country after a field visit to assess their facilities. The training, which is a critical part of the implementation process of the Jumeirah program, will equip training partners the requisite knowledge and modules of instruction of the curriculum of the Jumeirah program. Since its inception, the Jumeirah program under the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program has provided millions of cedis in seed funding, mentorship programs, and business support services. Speaking to journalists in Accra, Deputy CEO Joanne Selassie Ahianwodo urged the public to see NEIP as a long-term development tool rather than a quick fix solution.
We don't just want to give out money to people. We don't just want to count the numbers that we've trained to so and so number of entrepreneurs, we've trained to so and so number of businesses, we support to so and so number of businesses. That we want, at the end of the day, when we are counting, we want to count impact. That when we rolled out a Jumeirah, due to the conscious and deliberate processes we have put together, to ensure that we have quality of the program, we've been able to achieve the success and the dream that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has dreamed for.
Meanwhile, Professor Obi Obing Damwa of the University of Ghana Business School stressed that the NEIP is designed to empower young entrepreneurs across the country, regardless of political affiliation.
So if you look at the concept, it has those who even already have the businesses. The good news is that if they can go through these principles, it's going to catapult the business from one place to the other. So this is not just mere social event. You want to come, know people. I mean, the structure has been put together professionally.
Before we go, the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications and the Digital Chamber of Ghana have announced the appointment of Sylvia Owusu-Ankoma as their new Chief Executive Officer effective October 1, 2025. With close to 2 decades of progressive leadership experience spanning Ghana's telecommunications, digital and fast-moving consumer goods sector, Sylvia combines deep industry knowledge with a proven ability to build partnerships and deliver results, which she brings on board in her new roles. Her inspiring career spans high-impact positions at leading multinational organizations, including MTN Ghana, Airtel Tigo, also known as AT Ghana, and Guinness Breweries PLC. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Your finest tunes in sync with a soothing voice. 3 Lounge with AJ.
Are you tired of the same old routine? Need a break from the stress and chaos of everyday life? Well, step into the 3 Lounge, your world of absolute relaxation and great music with yours truly, AJ Aquako Sapon. Welcome to the best mid-morning